Well, Democrats on Capitol Hill are vowing to take action in response to Cohen pleading guilty to lying to Congress. Senate Intelligence Committee ranking member Mark Warner released a statement saying, with each indictment and each guilty plea, we learn more about the president's connections to Russia in the midst of Russia's efforts to interfere in the 2016 election. Special counsel Mueller's investigation must continue. He's calling once again for Robert Mueller to be protected. At the same time, ranking House Intelligence member Adam Schiff had this to say.
Now, if the president and his associates were being untruthful in real time as they were pursuing this deal, what does it mean now about how much we can rely on what the president is saying about any continuing Russian financial interests? This, I think, only underscores the importance of our bringing Mr. Cohen back before our committee, but also looking into this issue of whether the Russians possess financial leverage over the president of the United States.
Joining me now from the Washington Post, Jackie Alemany. So Jackie, Democratic lawmakers in both the House and the Senate now want to learn more about Cohen. Democrats, we know, will take control of the House in January. What do you expect from them?
Well, as we know, the Democrats are preparing for an onslaught of subpoenas and investigations into the president and specifically his actions on Russia. I think we can expect that they are going to, call back potentially some witnesses now that Michael Cohen has said that he was lying during his testimonies. But I think one thing that we're not going to see, at least at the moment, is any legislation passed to protect Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Democrats have said time and time again that this is necessary, that the president's rhetoric and his actions have been unprecedented and are a threat to the investigation. But there's really only a lone Republican, and that's Senator Jeff Flake, who is actually pushing to get a vote on this. Other Republicans have just simply called it unnecessary and have, quite frankly, bent over backwards to, defend the president's, again, unprecedented rhetoric and actions.
And Jackie, as you know, the House Intelligence Committee released its report on Russia meddling, where the Republican majority found that none of the witnesses provided evidence of collusion, of coordination, of conspiracy. So what do you think today's developments means for those Republicans who took witness testimony at face value? Should they have dug deeper to these potentially misleading statements?
Yes, completely. And it also is everyone at the time had even said it was far too early to draw any conclusions. There's a reason why the Mueller investigation has now lasted the span of over a year, why it's blown past every single deadline that the White House has said it would be wrapped up by. Robert Mueller and his team have done a great job at keeping things under wraps. But as we've seen this week, more and more details are leaking out that are troubling signs for the president.
And meanwhile, we're just a week away from the spending deadline, a partial government shutdown potentially. Here's what the president had to say about that.
We're in negotiation. If we don't get border security, possible shutdown.
So, Jackie, where do the negotiations stand right now over the wall funding?
Yeah, well, if it's not one problem, it's another for this president. This is an issue that the president probably won the election on, that he would build the wall. And right now, it's not looking like he has those 60 votes to secure $5 billion in funding for this border wall, which a lot of people, including some Republicans, think is, quite frankly, unnecessary and wouldn't actually do anything to curb our immigration problem. What's needed instead of a wall is comprehensive immigration reform. But, at the same time, the president's allies don't think that the president should coalesce. They don't think that they should give the president should give Democrats a win on this. They think that this is a political winner for him, that it's a bad look for Democrats to be looking weak on immigration. They want to abolish ICE. They don't want a wall. They want, as they've been saying, unfettered illegal immigration into the country, and that the president shouldn't give up so easy. But really, at the end of the day, it doesn't seem like House Republicans have too much of an appetite for this fight. I talked to a bunch of sources yesterday who said that the burden is on the president to cut a deal with Senator Chuck Schumer. And when I touched base with Schumer's office, it seemed pretty unlikely that they're willing to negotiate anything more than $1.6 billion for border security.
And meanwhile, on another topic, Jackie, senators are moving forward with legislation to end the U.S. involvement in the war in Yemen. It was really a signal of strong opposition to Saudi Arabia with the killing of Jamal Khashoggi. But was this also a rebuke of the Trump administration's response? Can we expect more conflict between the White House and Congress over this issue?
Completely, 100%. I mean, Senator Lindsey Graham has been in recent months nothing but the president's biggest and most vocal advocate, and he took the strongest stance yesterday, saying that he would not vote on anything, let alone securing funding for a border wall. He wouldn't vote to fund the government if the Senate is not briefed by CIA Director Gina Haspel. It's unclear whether or not it was Gina Haspel who didn't want to come brief senators yesterday because she didn't necessarily agree with the White House's assessment that Mohammed bin Salman has no direct link to Jamal Khashoggi's killing, or if it was the White House who barred her. But regardless, there's clearly an information block here, and it seems like senators are really not having it.
The president was also asked if he would meet with the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman while he's in Argentina. Here's what he had to say.
It only wasn't set up. I mean, I would have met with him, but we didn't set that one up. I'm meeting with President Xi, which is a very important meeting, having to do with trade. And as you know, I'm making about 3 or 4 meetings. We just didn't have time.
So he says he would have met with him. Is that a concern that he's sending this type of message at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because usually when presidents take trips abroad and overseas, it's to escape domestic problems. But in this case, you see the president jumping into a bevy of problems, from Putin to MBS to North Korea, South Korea. And, you've had some senators say, yes, our relationship with Saudi Arabia still stands. It is an important one. But, they've also added this caveat that MBS is not essential to this relationship, that the president and the administration, Jared Kushner, and the president's top advisors have given MBS just too much credit and too much power.
Jackie Alemany. Jackie, so grateful you could join us. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
You absolutely. Thank you very much.